There's some long gospels these weeks. Last week we had Jesus and the Samaritan woman at the well. This week we have Jesus and the man born blind. This week it points to Jesus, like in these 3 weeks, Jesus revealing himself in different forms. Last week was Jesus as the living water that quenches the thirst of our hearts for happiness. This week Jesus reveals himself as light. He says, while I am in the world, I am the light of the world. And he opens this guy's eyes so that he can see. Jesus as the light, he comes to open our eyes so that we may see and to fill our hunger, the hunger of our minds for the truth, so that we can flourish, so that we can navigate life, so we can know who we are and who God is and what we're here for. And Jesus has to come to bring light because we are all born blind. Born in original sin, we're born unable to see clearly until God heals us and opens our eyes and brings light. So this is why one of the names for baptism, we call it baptism, we call it washing, we call it regeneration or being born anew. One of the names for baptism is illumination also. What's amazing in all of this is that the miracle of Jesus opening the eyes of a man born blind is like thrown into the background very quickly. It keeps coming up in conversation, but it's not really the focus. And it passes so quickly. The man goes and washes in the pool of Siloam like Jesus told him to. And it says, and his eyes were opened and he can see. And then the controversy starts. And there are all these obstacles. The Pharisees who are going through all this, they keep saying, we can see, we're not blind. But they are blind to what has happened. They look right past. This man has received his sight, and he was born blind. They ignore the miracle and actually make of it just this big problem. And this is, I think, such a sad thing for this man born blind, because rather than rejoicing and celebrating with his family, I have never seen my mother's face, and now I can. I can look around the world and see, rather than anything like that, they go through this trial. And there's examination and witnesses and cross-examination. And there's this threat looming, so much that his parents kind of distance themselves from him and say, well, yeah, that's our son, and now, he was blind, and it seems like he can see now, but you better ask him, don't ask us. They don't even want to be associated with him because of the threat that's on top of this. So here's Jesus bringing light to this man, bringing light into the world, and immediately there are all these obstacles, all of this opposition. Yesterday, it's still going on through this morning, but yesterday I was there. I got to visit. We were having this retreat going on right now for the college students, and it's just called the Father's House. And it's really beautiful because we got 3 campuses involved. So there are 150 students down at a retreat place near Holland, from Grand Valley and from Hope College and from Central Michigan. And my one fear with this homily is that I'm excited for what I want to talk to you about, but my fear is that I will speak, you got to be brief, so I'm afraid that I'm going to be too brief and it's not really going to come through. So this is what I'm kind of struggling with here. I don't want to be too long, but I don't want to be too vague either. But here's what's going on, okay? The light that Jesus brings into the world, over the last day and a half, I got to see this happen in real time. Basically, as the students are going through this retreat, learning what is the Father's house and how do I live there and what is my place there, there is light being poured into them, like right before your eyes, and it sort of goes in 2 ways. Light comes in as they acknowledge the truth about themselves, and light comes in as they receive the truth and healing from God the Father. Okay, so it kind of comes in these forms. We had a big day of confession yesterday. Confessing our own sins is one way where we acknowledge the truth about ourselves, and we allow God to do something about it, to say something different. Also, a focus in this is not just our sins, but the wounds and hurts and brokenness, the relationships, the things in our heart that are in darkness and need to be brought into the light. And to do this is very difficult, actually. And it takes a lot of sense of security and a lot of courage, too. The light that God brings in this is sometimes subtle. Like, I didn't go through any big experience of healing yesterday, but I did receive greater light from God. So for me, it was kind of subtle, like encouragement and breaking through some hopelessness and clearing up my own mind. Sometimes it's huge. Sometimes it's life-changing and reorienting. So here's an example, and this is a general example that could apply to many people. Somebody in their upbringing, maybe in their college days, they've just experienced over and over being uncared for, being let down, even being betrayed. Where there should have been love, there was not love, and it has left a mark on them. But they have a desire and a need, like all of us, to be known and to be loved, and sometimes to be cared for by someone else, and not simply to care for themselves. They have this need, but because of their experience, they have learned, I am not worth the time or the care of another. That's the conclusion they reach based on the experience that they have gone through. So, because of this, because I am not worth the time and care of another, I will figure out how to be okay with going without. I will no longer ask. I will try not to want. I'll figure out how to live this way without that, because I can't have it, because I'm not worth it. Okay, you can see, you can probably feel, this is darkness. This is living in darkness. But all of us have these places in our hearts. This is unfortunately, relatively common. We all go through experiences of being let down or being uncared for when we needed something. Sometimes it's so repetitive, or sometimes it goes so deep that it leaves a permanent or semi-permanent mark on us and changes the way we think about ourselves and we understand the world. It darkens our eyes. It darkens our hearts. This is the stuff where then, the Lord can change. The Lord can break in. The Lord brings light into this. The conclusion, so I will be okay without, just comes from the previous premise that I am not worth the time or care of another. God has to reverse something. He has to expose lies. He has to change and redeem these memories and experiences. And he was over and over yesterday. What's amazing, though, is just like in the gospel, as Jesus brings light, he comes to heal someone who needs healing, someone who is blind, he comes to bring sight. Immediately, all kinds of obstacles come up. Here are some of them. Okay, sometimes somebody is right on the edge, and they can see, here is what God has for me, and I can't say yes, or I won't take the step because I'm afraid. I'm afraid of the change that this will require. I'm afraid of the unknown because I don't even know what it's like to live in a way where I say, sometimes I need the care of another because I forgot, because I'm so deeply determined that I will never need that again so that I don't get hurt again. I have figured out how to live in darkness, and so I'm not sure I want to go try the light again. Or the fear of disappointment, where they have a lack of hope. Where they say, I've been let down so many times, I'm not sure if I can say, yes, God, go ahead, because he might just disappoint me again, and that will be more painful than where I am now. Or sometimes there's simply a fear of walking into the light, of being vulnerable in this way. The way this comes out is where people say, I'm fine, I'm okay. Those other people, they need what this is about, but I'm doing pretty good. You're like, I see that you are not. Or they've learned to expect nothing, and so they crush their desires, and they have forgotten, so deeply, that they actually want whatever it is for someone to know them and care about them, that they want a close friend, that they want to be seen. Sometimes they say, I don't want that, I don't need that, because they've been taught to expect so little. Sometimes also out of fear, this happens to all of us. We just see ourselves as the exception. This is kind of hopelessness. Again, this is kind of trained into us, where we say, I know that God will do that for you and for you, but I don't think that he would do that for me, because my problems aren't that bad. This is another way we cope with this. I'm not hurting enough. that person is. God, give them your attention, but I'm not worth it. Sometimes we just get so focused on our own inability and weakness. We just focus on ourselves and just say, my problems are too great. I failed over and over. I don't have what it takes to be healed by God, which, like, you can hear the absurdity in this. But we can do this for sure, where our hopelessness just comes from our own experience of our own failure, how many times we have disappointed ourselves. Sometimes there are such long-standing lies that we have forgotten any other way to live. And other times there is just a wound of distrust so that I am unwilling to put myself in the care of another, and I can't surrender myself to God, because if I do, he might betray me also. All these obstacles come up right in the middle of this. Somebody is right on the edge. They're face to face with the Lord, and you're there with them, and you see them stop and halt, and everything freezes. So then what do we do? When Jesus has come to bring light, and there are all these objections and all these difficulties, mostly to navigate this, it's again just to bring light. Sometimes it's asking the person a question, or sometimes it's just sharing with them something that you see. Like, you can just say, are you afraid? So that they can say, yes. And then you can say, what are you afraid of? And then they can actually say, well, this is what I'm afraid of. And you can say, okay, it's all right that you're afraid of that. Okay, will you say yes to the Lord anyway? Sometimes they say no. And then you'll come back around. You'll pray for them and another time, a little later. Okay, not today. But when they say yes, and like darkness is overcome by light, this is like, that's why I'm in such a good mood today. Because again, I saw this for like dozens of people yesterday. Now, for all of you, and the reason why I'm telling you this, talking about Jesus as light, bringing sight to the blind, and the opposition that we face, you are children of the light, and you are now in your Father's house. It doesn't have to happen only on retreat. Like this kind of healing, this kind of breakthrough, this kind of restoration does not have to happen on some sort of special day in a special circumstance on retreat. But like when we go to Mass, this is not just nourishment for us to continue. It's not just education. Like this is the place where we receive God's healing in such an ordinary way. Obstacles will pop up for you also. You might say, well, I want light. I want to see. I want what we're talking about today. But I'm distracted again at Mass. I got here late again. My children are kind of taking my attention today. I'm preoccupied with other things, and so I will never get it, at least not today. You hear again, this is darkness. How do we address this kind of obstacle, this kind of, when the Pharisees pop up and say, there's no way he opened your eyes. He will not do that for you because you're a sinner. We do it just by bringing even those things into the light then. What are your objections? What are the things that make you hopeless? What are the things that make you expect less, crush your desires, or not be able to take that step in trust to say yes to the Lord? Just beware of the hardness, of the hopelessness, of the resistance, and bring those into the light. Like maybe the main thing about the Father's house is that you do not have to take care of yourself. You don't have to be clever enough to solve your own problems. You just have to keep remaining with the Father, and he will take care of you. He will take care of you today. He will do wonderful things for you today. And it has nothing to do with your own strength or your own goodness. It has to do with his strength and goodness. He has brought you here today, and he has something for you. So open your heart to it and say yes.